we're going to right click on the high scores panel, and we're going to go to UI, panel, and we're going to call this one the new high score panel. Okay, and we'll set this to black again. We're going to put a few things in here. So I'm going to right click and go UI legacy text. And we'll say this is our initials. And I'm going to duplicate that and rename this one our score. Let's put score on top actually. Okay, so our score, we'll put 99999, and then initials will be ABC. This is just temporary, right? And then what we could do is take the values from our list over here. I can come over here to a line and say that our rank, we're going to copy this rect transform component so I could paste it here on score and initials. So I'm selecting score, holding shift, and then selecting initials so I could apply this to both of them. So I'm going to paste component values, and then same thing with the text component on the rank. I'm going to right click, I'm going to copy component, I'm going to select score and initials, and I'm going to right click on this and paste component values. Except in here, I'm going to say score is 9999, and then initials is ABC. So they're off here in the corner right now. That's okay. So I'm going to take this, and with both of these selected, I'm going to hit this little rect transform square right here, hit Alt and Shift, and I'm going to select this little center square here. And you'll see that it centers them up when it does that. Okay, so now I can take the score and move it up here. And it's kind of messy here, right? This panel, I think, could be a little darker. So I'm going to select the panel, and I'm going to select the color, and I'm going to change the alpha to be a little stronger. So we could put it to something like that. Looks good to me. Okay, so now it's easier to read this text. What we want to do is give this logic to just cycle through each of these letters and to also display what the high score is. So here's what we can do. We can add an FSM to this new high score panel. Add transition, finish transition here, just because we're going to add some stuff later on probably. And in here, let's say that we're going to set score. So what we could do here is get FSM int. And we're going to be getting from our game object, we're going to be getting from our score FSM the score int variable, and we're going to be storing it locally here in a new variable called the same thing. And then we could put in a set text, UI text set text, okay, specifying this score game object, and we're going to be converting our score, okay? So this is what the score is. So this will display whatever the player's current score was. And after it's done setting the score, I'm going to send down here. We'll call this one enter initial. And in this state, we're going to give the player an option to scroll forward or backward a letter and to confirm the letter. Get key up, and we're going to say our up arrow, and we'll copy this and paste this, and our down arrow. Okay, so you can use the up arrow, down arrow. You could set this to whatever you want, really. Just and you could put the controls on screen to say, you know, use these controls to go back or forward letters, whatever it is. So the up arrow will send a new event next, and the down arrow will send a new event previous. Okay, prev. We'll have this and this go out to their own separate states, and they send back like this. Okay, so this one will be next letter, and this one will be previous letter. And then here on enter initial, we can say another get key up. Why not? Let's just say that to commit this, they have to hit the spacebar. And we'll say that this sends a new event called commit. Okay, we'll add that transition, and it'll send down here to a third option. We'll say add initial, and then we'll have a state waiting down here that'll just say complete. The logic is set up here, but it doesn't really do anything, right? The flow of the logic is here, but it doesn't really do anything. We're also going to need, if I just take this initials, I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to say current letter, and I'm just going to scooch it down like right there. So this will be whatever the current letter that they're scrolling through. Okay. Now here in enter initial, what we'll do is get substring, and we're going to put that up here at the top. The string variable is going to be a new variable called available characters. So if I right click and edit this, we could put A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. And then we'll put in exclamation at, hashtag, $ percentage, ampersand, and question mark. Okay, that's a good lineup of characters for them to be able to use. Okay, so we have this big string that has all these characters they can use. Now the length, what get substring does is it gets a value from this string. So the length, you could say, well, get like 3 letters, and it'll give you any chunk of 3 letters in a row here. But we just want to set it to 1, and the start index says, well, where in here does it get? So at the 5th value, at the 10th value, at the 1st value, last value, whatever it is. So the start index, we're actually going to use a variable. We're going to create a new variable called string index, string underscore index. Okay, and we're going to store the result as a new variable called current character. Okay, and then we're going to have a UI set text. Okay, UI text set text right after that, and we're going to be specifying our current letter game object. Okay, and that's what we're going to be setting our current character with. Okay, so in fact, you might even want to say that this is not current letter; it's called current character. This start index, so by default, this should just get set with A. So if I press play, right, it got set with A. Okay, that makes sense because the start index is 0 by default, right? The string underscore index, and the 0 index of this is the first value here, because things worked on a 0-based index, so that means that instead of the first value being numbered as 1, it's numbered as 0. Okay, so that makes sense. A is 0. So what we can do is we could change this string index every time we go to the next letter or previous letter states, right? Which is, of course, controlled by our up arrow or down arrow. So the next state, we could do an int add, okay? And we're going to say that our string index, we'll add 1 to it. And we're going to do an int wrap as well. And that's just so it stays within a certain value, the minimum value being 0 and the maximum value being however many characters are in this available characters thing. So what we could do to just get that number really easy is up here on our start state. Let's just call this init get string length. Okay, we're going to say that the available characters string, make a new variable called max underscore index. Okay, so now here, okay, so all that does is it says how many characters are in here. So if we only had up until Z, that'd be 26 characters, right? 26 letters in the alphabet, and then plus the 9, and then all these little special characters. So that's what our maximum index is. So over here in this int wrap, what we can say is that our string index has a minimum value of 0 and a maximum value of our maximum index. And what that'll do is that'll make sure that every time we add 1 to our string index, that it stays between these two values, and it'll always sort of circle back around. So if we add 1 to whatever the maximum index is, it'll actually come back around to 0. And that'll make sure that it's always looking within that range that actually makes sense. Okay, so what we could do is come over, I'm going to take this int wrap, I'm going to copy it, I'm going to paste it in our previous letter state as well, and I'm going to put in an int subtract. Okay, put that up here at the top of it, and the variable we're adding to is our string index, and we're subtracting 1 from it. Okay, so it's the same logic, except instead of adding, it's subtracting. Okay, so both of these states should basically look the same, except for the fact that one's adding and one's subtracting. Okay, and to test this, I'm going to play as focused. So I'm just going to turn off this press any key to start game object just for now while we're testing, because it's kind of screwing up me being able to test over here. So if I select the screen over here, because I have to be able to select the screen to input, if I press up, you can see in B, and I can press down, so I can go up and down, and I'm scrolling through the letters like this. Okay, up, down, 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 down. I have all these. Okay, up, 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 down, 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 down. Cool. So now that we know that that works, over here, we can say that we can add an initial, so it can start adding to the actual 3-letter initial up here. So what I'm going to do is put in a string append. which is just a way of adding a string to the end of another string. So the string variable that we want to append to is a variable that we'll just call our initial. And the string that we want to add to it at the very end of it, right, is our current character. And then that way we can do a set text. And this time we're telling it to set the initials text, okay? And we're going to be using the variable initials. And let's just put an S at the end of that because I'm a stickler for the language part sometimes. Okay, and we want to be able to go back and forth. So what we'll do is a get string length again. And we're going to say, hey, is our initials, say get our initials length, right? So it's say initials length. And we're going to do an int compare. And we're going to ask, hey, is our initials length equal to 3? If so, go to the next state where it's complete. But if it's less than 3, let's go back and keep letting the player enter the next letters. So now when we play this, right, so I can go up and down, right? So let's say my name is B, right? So that adds B, and then go O, B, O, B, O, Z, Boz. Okay, my name is Boz, and now it fired off over here to complete. So that'll say that, okay, they've entered their name, and we could do the next part of the logic, which is to sort of enter them on the scoreboard or whatever. So looking good, and yeah, that's all we need for now for that part.